18 and 19, it goes on to say, you believe in the one good, in the one God. It goes on to say, you have to show that. That's where the deeds come in. You believe in the one God, good. So do the demons, and shudder. No good just believing, you've got to do something with the belief. You've got to do something with that fact. Now, a lot of you know that I'm going to Zambia this coming week. We're going on Wednesday. We're actually arrive on Thursday, so long flight and a long layover. And of course, that's brought several things to my mind. Now, there's a favourite phrase that you'll find Zambians saying, which I've heard Alice say and lots of other people say, and it probably goes further than Zambia, but the phrase is, I don't have money. And Zambians certainly are much more willing and upfront to mention this. There's a refreshing honesty about it, as opposed to British reticence. In Britain, we never want to say if we, how much money we've got, unless of course you know someone with lots of money who is forever banging on about it. There's a few of those about, but I don't think we know many of those. Strangely enough, there is a reticence about money in Britain. But in Zambia, someone will say, I don't have money. In other words, I can't do that, I can't join into that, I don't have the money for it. Or, you invite someone somewhere and they say, I need travel money. And yes, well, fair enough. If you want my company, I have to be able to buy the bus fare. I don't have money is a good phrase, and it's what I've adopted. Especially when Leah is asking for something. She'll go to her mother and then she'll come to me, or vice versa. But of course we do try to for her, but yes, sometimes we don't have money. And it's all right to say so. Now, another memory from the past is the Reverend Friday Longer. Now, that's a lovely name. I would have remembered it just for that. But he was also a lovely man. He was a minister at Alice's home church in Zambia. And when we got married, he was the one that conducted our marriage service in Lusaka. And he also gave us the marriage talk before the wedding. Now here's me thinking, well look, neither Alison nor I are innocent teenagers at this stage. What do we need the marriage talk for? But actually, he was very good, and he talked about marriage, not in the terms of young love. We weren't quite at that stage. But he had lots of meaningful insights to how couples should conduct themselves and get on together, and that was useful even for Alice and I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the service I conducted. But I had a little bit to do with him. It is local ministry, and of course, he'd been doing lots for us. I made him a present of money to help with his ministry, and he gave it back and said, "Can you do that in small denomination notes?" I said, well, yeah, I'm sure I can arrange that. He said, well, that would be better. And he then went on to explain why. As the minister, he went and visited people in his flock at home. And there is a tradition throughout Africa, but in Zambia as well, that you have to entertain a guest. In other words, you have to feed them. And he was visiting people who had the least amount of money, resources. So if he had a number of small denomination notes, he could slip a small denomination, one of those notes, to the wife of the house, who would send one of the children out to run down to the market and get food in. so that they could feed the minister as he visited, watered, and it also, of course, it was more than enough for one meal, so they got a few meals out of it as well. So bringing that back to us, do you have money? Well, you have some. Are you boracic? Now that's a term that some of the other members of the congregation will follow. It's boracic linked, skint. So if you're boracic, you've got no money at all. And there are people in our community that can't put a loaf of bread on the table for the kids. And none of us are that stage. After the war, rationing got worse, and there were very many households that sent the working man out for a day's labour with some jam sandwiches. Bread and jam were cheap, they weren't abundantly available, but that was the economy of the time. How many of you, for your deeds, if you have money, you could donate money to good causes, you could even give people money, stuff like that. But even if you don't have money, you can afford to share a loaf. If next door's children are going to go hungry, half a loaf, a bit of spread and jam, maybe a half packet of cornflakes, a bit of milk you've got in the cupboard. That is a deed. That is faith in action. We can all do something. We might not have very much, but we can all do something. There's an American song, isn't there, from the Depression? Brother, can you spare a dime? A dime is a very small coin, it's 10 cents. It's not quite as small as a nickel, which is 5 cents. It's nothing. What's nothing to us could mean everything to somebody else. Now Sophie is coming to begin her ministry with us. Starts on the 1st of September. She says she's going to come down and visit the breakfast service. So on your best behaviour, Steve.
Thanks, Bruce. I'll limit the amount of chocolate I take.
Now, Sophie is definitely a practical Christian. She's like James. All right, she's not the brother of Jesus, but she is another practical Christian. She believes, and I believe too, that you're not in a receptive state to hear the word of the Lord if all you're thinking about is your stomach. You know, you need a certain level of basic necessities before you can concentrate on the word of God. Sophie is a practical Christian, certain that she's going to have some ideas about how we can do the faith and deeds thing. And even as a small community, and we are a small community, to help our immediate neighbours, our community, and to grow the church, which I think is what we need, and I devoutly pray is what will happen. Can we help any of us, the whole world? Of course we can't. Can we, as individuals, help with large donations to good causes? I don't think most of us can. Small donations we raise. I mean, I will mention this time we're going to have in September we're going to have our thank offering service where we do raise money and we do give that to good causes. exactly what the good cause is going to be decided, I think, at the next leadership meeting. You can't help the whole world, but as I've discussed, you can help a neighbour. And you can actually do other things. Other deeds don't require any cash input at all. Listening is a deed that doesn't require cash input. You're maybe offering a cup of tea or coffee as you listen. Taking a hand. Literally taking a hand. To hold someone's hand is incredibly important. We're not tactile enough. Well, you lot are not tactile. Well, some of you lot are not tactile enough. British are not tactile. French, we're all over each other. I come around Europe, you know, and we slap backs and we shake hands and we kiss each other on the cheek, and you think nothing of it. British people go. So be more tactile. Spreading the word. Sat next to someone on the bus and they're looking a bit miserable. Try and start a conversation. You know, I used to start thinking, you know, when boys and girls came to my class, and looked miserable, I'd say something to you like, "Who kicked your puppy then?" Or, you know, you get rained on the way there, or just something as a conversation break to get in and hopefully find out why some poor little soul was looking utterly devastated. I did say to one lad many years ago, "Who kicked your puppy then?" And he said it died. But at least I got it in for the conversation, and I found out why he was miserable, and we made something out of that. Deeds don't need money. It's true. I'm going to embarrass Christine now by saying that she does her good deeds. She works for the library service. She goes out and she takes books to old dears, mostly old dears. But the purpose of taking the book out and giving another one back is not really the exchange of books. It's the company that she brings to them. And I'm going to tell you a story about my mother. My mother, when she moved back up to Darlington, she was looking for interest. At this stage, she was in her late 70s, and this went on to the early 80s, and she went to volunteer with Help the Aged. Right, so it's a lady of 80 doing kitchen and waitressing and other duties for Help the Aged. And I can remember her saying to me on one occasion, "You know, a lot of them are younger than me." Of course, she'd kept her health. She was active, and that made the difference. Yes, there were some people younger than her that weren't. At the end of the chapter that we read, verses 20 to 24 talks about Abraham and his faith and deeds. Now, his deeds didn't require any cash expenditure. It was, in fact, in order to be obedient to God's command, he was going to sacrifice something much more valuable than his flocks or any amount of cash or whatever. He was going to sacrifice his son. Of course, God prevented him before the final act and provided a suitable sacrifice. But he was constant in his faith, and that constancy in faith allowed him to go ahead with a deed that was undoubtedly repugnant to him as a father, which had been given him by God. Final part of it, verses 25 to 26, talks about Rahab, who was not a Jewish lady. But she showed her compassion and therefore her faith by saving the spies that went into her city and getting them in and out. And I said I was going to talk about faith, hope and charity. Paul says there remains faith, hope and charity. And the greatest of these is charity. Now charity in that time didn't mean giving money to good causes. Charity comes from the Greek word agape, means unconditional love. Not love for a child, not love for your spouse, not love for your parents. These are all natural types of love. It was considered to be the purest form of love. Charity meant unconditional love for your fellow man. And you express that